Sonic dies in prison. Yeah, that's straightforward. Let's just dive right into this. I don't have much to say here. It was a Wednesday. A Wednesday that he would never forget. Sonic the Hedgehog was walking down the street as he usually did, like always. Years ago, he had saved the world from Robotnik, who later spiraled into depression and stopped doing bad things. Oh, this already got pretty dark. Instead, he turned his life around and got a job at a local IHOP. Well, that's good for him. Sonic himself decided to settle down and start a family with the girl who had always admired him. Her name was Audrey Bradford. She was a human woman that Sonic had fallen in love with, despite her being 12 years younger than her. So who's the younger one here? Together they got married and had 3 beautiful children, Keith, Declan, and Gertrude. Aside from Gertrude, those are the 2 worst names I have ever heard. Sonic was happy. For a time. It was always the same with Sonic, and he was getting bored. It was time that Sonic changed his routine, make his life more exciting. He started going out for runs in the middle of the night behind his wife's back, getting into all sorts of rambunctious shenanigans. It reminded Sonic of when he was wild, free, and young, just like the old days. It was that Wednesday night that he took things too far. Sonic was running through the neighborhood when he came across the house of his old nemesis, Eggman. For old time's sake, Sonic decided to ring the doorbell and play some sort of nasty prank on him. However, when Robotnik opened the door, Sonic was in for a surprise. Eggman was unrecognizable. Instead of his round egg-shaped body, he was slim and fit with a nice 6-pack of abs. Instead of a bald head, he was wearing a dashing and very convincing toupee. Okay, I'm gonna drop my Instagram and my fucking email in the fucking description. If you can draw Eggman with this description, I will fucking post it on the next video. Or whatever next video that I'm working on when I get it. Sonic was taken aback and thought to himself, "Is this Eggman? No way!" Before Sonic could speak, however, Robotnik rubbed his sleepy eyes and asked, "Sonic, is that you?" Sonic was hesitant before saying, "Eggman." Saying this took Robotnik aback. He shook his head. "Don't call me that anymore. That isn't who I am. Just call me Ivan." Eggman's name is Ivan, isn't it? It's Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Is it Ivan? Is Sonic could not believe it. Had Eggman really changed this much? He had to find out. "Okay, can I come in, Ivan?" Ivan scratched his not-so-bald head. "Sure, I suppose. What for?" Sonic paused to think a moment. "Just to catch up, I guess. It's been so long, you know." Sonic entered Ivan's house, a well-put-together little house. Sonic was impressed. There was no sign of Ivan's past life. It felt to Sonic that he had regretted it immensely. Did he regret coming to his house? Did he regret Eggman existing? What is he regretting here? They began talking to one another for hours. Sonic went on about his life, but found interest in Ivan's life after his defeat. Sonic was admired by Ivan's bravery. Sonic was admired by Ivan bravery as he fought through his depression and climbed his way from bankruptcy to make a decent living for himself. So Sonic was admired by Ivan's bravery. Okay. Sonic was touched by Ivan's story and felt bad for what he'd done to him in the past. "That story was incredible. I feel so bad now for all I done to you." But Ivan just smiled. "There is no reason to apologize. What I did back then was reprehensible. I just wish I hadn't bothered in the first place." Sonic comforted Ivan. "All is forgiven." Not 1, not 3. Sonic and Ivan moved closer to each other. From that moment on, not a word was spoken. The rest of the night was filled... Oh shit! I didn't read this prior. I always go into my readings blind, but like, oh shit! I didn't expect this. The rest of the night was filled with an explosion of love and passion between the hedgehog and his former enemy. It was a night that had thrilled Sonic to the core, but one that he regretted the next morning. Poor Sonic. The next day, Sonic began walking home. He feared what his wife might think, wondering where he's been. wondering where he was for the night. He had even contemplated not going home at all. He grabbed a coffee and decided to face his wife. However, upon stepping inside, he found that his wife was not there. Instead, there laid a note on the coffee table that read, "Hello, sweetie. I have gone out for groceries. I'll be back in an hour. Also, there was someone who wanted to speak to you. He said he knew you. Take care, dear." Sonic thought it peculiar that his wife didn't even question his disappearance. He looked beside the note to find a number. It must have been the person his wife mentioned in the note, and decided to give it a call. After a few rings, the voice on the other side of the phone was all too familiar. "Tails, is that you? It's been so long!" Sonic gleefully answered into the phone. Tails was Sonic's best friend. After Robotnik had been defeated, Tails went on his own separate way in order to prove that he was independent. This was the first time he's heard from him in years. "Tails? Huh, no one calls me that anymore. Everyone calls me Miles now," Tails said from the other side of the phone. This is kind of sad. This is, like, really sad. Because, like, you know when, like, it's just, like, those people you haven't seen in so many years and you go to see them and they've changed so much and it's like you barely know them anymore. That's what the story is, and it's really sad, actually. "Okay, Miles, how have you been? Keeping good, I hope?" Sonic asked curiously. "Things have been pretty good, I suppose," Miles responded. "Look, I know it's kind of abrupt, but I need your help. Something only the fastest thing alive could handle." I hit puberty halfway through that, I guess. "Okay, I'll do anything to help my best buddy out," Sonic said excitedly. He hadn't been on an adventure in years. "Okay, then, meet me by the pier at 3 and we'll talk, okay?" Miles said before abruptly hanging up the phone. Sonic looked at the time. It was almost 1:30. Sonic had to hurry if he wanted to make it on time, but before he left, his 3 kids came walking down the stairs. "Daddy, where are you going?" Gertrude, the eldest child, said. "Well, Daddy has to go on an important meeting, so he's gotta leave now, honey," Sonic said. "And just leave us here all alone?" Gertrude responded smarmly. Is that a word? After a bit of thought, Sonic realized that the children could not take care of themselves. Even Gertrude, at 12, was too irresponsible to take care of herself, let alone a 7- and 3-year-old. Well, then why'd your wife leave them? Damn. "Okay, you can come along then," Sonic said. I mean, Tails was his best friend. What could possibly go wrong? A lot. So Sonic loaded his kids in the van and headed off to the pier to meet up with Miles. All I'm seeing in my head is just like Sonic just in a van with a bunch of human children. I'd be concerned. I would try to stop that van. Upon reaching the pier, Sonic told his kids to wait in the car. He got out and headed toward the table that Miles was sitting at. "Hiya, old buddy. How's it been?" Sonic said to his old friend. Miles smiled. That rhymed. "Pretty good. Glad you could make it here." "So what do you want from me anyway?" Sonic questioned. "So here's the thing, Sonic. After going on my own, I decided to become an engineer. Of course, nowadays, all the money is in the weapons dealing. Damn. So naturally, I began to produce and distribute weapons illegally across the border," Miles explained. Sonic was shocked to hear this. "Isn't that dangerous?" Sonic said, and Miles nodded. Miles got out of his chair, revealing that one of his 2 tails had been blown off at some point. Not 1, not 3. "I don't know if I want to do this, Miles. It seems pretty dangerous," Sonic said nervously. It was then that Miles got close to Sonic. "Look, Sonic, I just hooked the biggest deal of my lifetime. Only someone as fast as you can help me get these weapons across the border. Look, I can pay you a good sum of money if you agree, and once you do this job, you'll never have to speak to me again." Sonic thought to himself and weighed the options. It was dangerous, but the money could help his family out as they were going through some tough times at the moment. After thinking long and hard, he agreed to help Miles out. Oh, I know where this is going. I thought he was going to kill Eggman or something, but he's going to get caught smuggling fucking weapons across the border. Oh, God. "Great, I know I can count on you. Let me load up in your van and head down toward the border," Miles said as they loaded into Sonic's van with his kids and headed down to the border. Damn, took his kids too. After driving for 8 hours, Sonic and his kids and Miles all made it down to the border and began to preparing smuggling the weapons. So they were gone. So Sonic ran off for 8 hours with their fucking kids, and I bet his wife doesn't even give a shit. "Okay, here's the plan. I'll hand you the weapons and you dash across the border before anyone notices you. It's a foolproof plan," Miles said, and Sonic nodded, agreeing with him. But before they could load up, a cop noticed them with the weapons, and before they knew it, a whole battle line of cops began to approach Sonic and Miles. Nice. Miles sees Sonic and weapons shouting, "Defend yourself! Don't let them get you!" Sonic was frightened. He had never used a gun before. That was Shadow's thing. Regardless, he began to fire at the police. The shootout began as helicopters and more police began to show up. Sonic's children began to cry, and Sonic began to worry for their lives. He leaned over to Miles. I think we should just turn ourselves in. I don't want to die. But Miles didn't care and responded, I don't want to go to prison. Not again. Before firing at the cops again. Sonic tried to move forward to comfort his crying children. He had no idea what he was getting them into and regretted taking them. But before Sonic could even see his children, he noticed a cop with a rocket launcher aiming at him and he leapt out of the way. The car blew up in a fiery explosion. Sonic barely clung on for life as he witnessed a smoldering wreck of a van before his very own eyes. Miles was also on the ground, weakened from the explosion as the cops began to surround him. Miles took out a gun in desperation and killed himself. Shit, dude. Sonic let the cops take him away as he passed out. Sonic woke up in a cell. Lonely. Cold. He had been deemed guilty and sentenced for life while he was unconscious, so that's not how that fucking works. You can't go to court if you're fucking passed out, my dude. Sonic could not believe how he had got here, how bad things had spiraled. He had learned that his wife had killed herself after not hearing what happened. Sonic became depressed. Day after day, living in constant misery. He couldn't take it anymore. Sonic had smuggled himself a rope and intended on killing himself that night. As he got on the chair, he heard footsteps come closer, and around the corner came a familiar-looking friend of his. Sonic got on his knees in front of the last beacon of hope. Ivan, please help me get out of here! But Ivan just laughed before saying, I finally got you, you wretched hedgehog. Sonic was shocked and sad at the same time. The only words he could choke out was, why? Robotnik began to explain, after you had defeated me for the 1000th time, I realized that I had to get more cunning if I was going to stop you, so I pretended to retire and reform myself. Everything that happened was under my watch. I set up to deal with Miles and supplied him with weapons. I tipped the cops that you were coming. I even got my robot minions to kidnap your wife so that you would take the kids with you. Robotnik began to laugh maniacally. Hearing this, Sonic was emotionally destroyed. He had been betrayed by the man he thought he had made friends with, the man he had thought he loved. Sonic then went up against the bars. Please, just put me out of my misery! I can't take it anymore! Sonic was now in tears. Robotnik decided to fulfill Sonic's wish and got out his knife, brutally stabbing Sonic in the chest. Sonic fell to the ground, lifeless, as Robotnik quietly walked out of the prison undetected. Robotnik then laughed to himself. His well-laid-out plan, one that he had meticulously planned for years, had ended in success. Finally, Robotnik had won. That wretched hedgehog was gone from his life, and he was free to conquer the world. The end. Yo, can we discuss how Sonic and fucking Eggman fucked, though?